She wouldn't give me her number, so I just kept showing up at her place of business. For 5 months I drank coffee while she topped off the late shift at East of Java. I didn't sleep from May to September. When she got a job at the health food store, I ate soy protein and inadvertently won a weightlifting contest in Bulgaria. Don't ask. When she got a job at the animal shelter, I wound up with 32 cats and an eviction notice. Unrequited love, the subject of innumerable sitcoms, countless Disney Channel programs, and, well, the bane of every high school freshman boy. When you mix that with a shy, passive personality and a cute, friendly young lady, you end up with a storyline that, well, ends in a lot of cats. Accumulating Cats by Kelly Meadows. Finally, I spoke up when signing yet another adoption form. You'd think they'd say I was unfit since I already had 45. Have you noticed anything? I asked. You seem to really like cats. Anything else? Yeah, you like coffee and soy protein. What about you? I don't really like soy protein. And I'm like, no, I mean, I like you. Not that it mattered. I could hardly have anyone over with 63 cats. I don't date my customers. So I suggested you could give me your number and I'd stop coming by. But no. That would be bad for the cats. Not really. With 63 cats, there's more animosity in my apartment than on a high school cheerleading squad. But there wasn't much of a choice. The only way I could keep seeing her was to keep accumulating cats. If I gave up on the cats, she'd say I was unfeeling. If I gave up on the girl, well, I'd save a lot of money on cat litter. Finally, I packed up all 84 of my cats into my car and waited for her to get off of work. Unfortunately, rather than Brenda, it was a police officer. A rather burly and playfully authoritative fellow who wondered, among other things, what I was doing with 94 cats and how I could see out the back window. I didn't know what to say. What's wrong, boy? Cat got your tongue? I pulled one off my face and said I was waiting for Brenda Riley. He looked at me, kind of shocked. We were both doing the same thing, in our own way. I gave her 15 tickets so I could get to know her, and then she said she wouldn't date a police officer. There's more. After that, I gave her 30 days. She lost her job at the health food store during the time, but at least I could keep an eye on her. Inadvertently, it was this guy's fault. I had all the cats and no Brenda. And we weren't the only ones smitten. I know a fireman who burned down her house and hoped she'd come running into his arms. Unfortunately, rather than that, she escaped out the back window. His romance went up in flames, and she was late for a job at the coffee store, and they fired her. What an unfortunate girl, I offered. That's why she didn't mind spending the 30 days. She couldn't afford a motel while they were rebuilding her apartment. It was nice, apparently. Built-in coffee bar, lots of scratching posts, and no soy protein. Brenda was put on television. Turns out she was a hero because she farmed out just about every cat that was brought in. So if you want to make sure your cat has a good home, just take her to Brenda Riley. That wasn't good for either of us. I either had to stop my cat colony at about 150 or move up to an SUV. And this was just around the time that everyone was bringing in their surplus kittens to Brenda to find them a good home. Why spay when you can just give them away? I stopped adopting, and she began looking really bad on her TV following. I didn't show up for a week. It was hard, but it's not like I didn't have any pets to take care of. Brenda was beside herself, and her performance behind the wheel suffered as well. Brenda Riley, recently hailed as a savior of our town's homeless felines, has been pulled over repeatedly for reckless driving. Do we really want this woman responsible for our city's cats? If she holds human life in such disregard, imagine how she feels about the cats we've entrusted her to protect and distribute. But the next day, Brenda was on the TV with that policeman. Brenda won't be a nuisance to anyone anymore. From now on, I'll be taking her wherever she needs to go. This wouldn't have been quite so infuriating, except he was wearing a tux and she was wearing a bridal gown. As you know, when you have 200 cats, you quickly go from 200 to 216, 230 to 260. I had no choice. I had to go back to the shelter. I loaded them all up in my car and reared back into the loading dock. I opened my back hatch as they all poured out. Brenda was still there. It looked like a scene from one of those horror movies, and she screamed like one too. Ah, stop that! That's stressful for the cats! Stop that! My tires heaved a sigh of relief as a ton of cats fell back off my car. And soon, Brenda was back on television, begging people to adopt. Please, take a cat, take a kitten, just get them out of here. Do you know what will happen if they aren't adopted? And do you know who is responsible for this plague unleashed upon our unsuspecting city? None other than Kenneth LeBurrow. That was me. Call me Kenny. Call me in the doghouse. Call me, my picture was on the front page of the newspaper, and my mother wasn't proud. But people came out in droves. Turns out no one wanted to see Brenda go down in flames. Well, maybe that fireman guy. Soon everyone in town had a cat, and the lines were so long to get into the shelter, I couldn't see Brenda. Not that it mattered. She's married now. I wasted a year in pursuit of fancy feast coffee and soy protein. But I had a plan. I had a plan to get to see her. I had to tell her that I did all of this for someone. I did it for her. So I got in my car and I drove 3 towns over, got 40 pounds of catnip and drove back. What a ride home that was. After discreetly placing it throughout the animal shelter, I placed a series of phone calls into the police department suggesting that there was a brutal robbery taking place on 34th Street. Call the cops! Brutal robbery taking place on 34th Street! I must have been convincing because we don't even have a 34th Street. So the cats were in hog heaven, the police were in hot pursuit, and where was Brenda? She was in the ladies' room. But it didn't matter. I had to see her. So I walked in and waited for her to finish. Brenda, I need to tell you something. But this is the ladies' room, and what did you do with my cats? Brenda, I love you. Long pause. Long, long, long pause. Then, flush. There's a man in here! Long pause. Well, get out! No, you get out! I've waited a year to talk to this woman, and you are not gonna mess this up! She looked at me, shocked. Love. If I knew that, I might have gone out with you. But you married the firefighter. That's because you were stalking me. Coffee, maybe. Soy protein. Okay, but no one likes that many cats. She said as she walked out of the ladies' room. So there I was, me, alone in the ladies' room when, flush. There's a man in here! My court case is next month.